Welcome back, Flare community. Today in this video, I will be highlighting some very interesting points the CEO of Flare Network Limited, Hugo made in his latest interview with HandShake. I would like to give a special thank you to Luke on Twitter, who brought this interview to my attention. Please feel free to give him a follow. When discussing the potential which the Flare network can give to assets currently lacking smart contract functionality, Hugo mentioned Cardano. This is very intriguing, as the Flare network Twitter account recently conducted a poll asking if Cardano should be integrated as an F asset, which 85% of people unsurprisingly said yes. I have no doubt that this will be one of the next assets to be integrated with the Flare network. What's even more intriguing is what Hugo mentions shortly after.
Decentralization is quite a tough topic for people to understand. And it's something that's, I feel, we've got this group of people, users and value, that exist already in our space, but are massively underutilized. Because if we think that many of the sort of leading applications now are smart contract based, really you've then got this huge kind of tail end of things, which is not accessible really to smart contracts in a decentralized way or a trustless way. I appreciate that there are bridges that have been built to different networks. However, we've done a lot of analysis on those kind of bridges, and most of them have an element of a custodial or a centralized nature. So really, we look at this ecosystem, Bitcoin, XRP, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Stellar, Doge, even Cardano, which today doesn't have smart contracts, or even potentially Algorand,
Even potentially Algorand. Very interesting indeed. Why would Hugo mention Algorand specifically? Just something to think about. Something else which I would like to bring to your attention is the latest time frame which the Flare network is expected to launch. When developing software, completion dates are estimates. You break the development into tasks, estimate how long each task will take, and after totaling the time estimated, you will come out with a figure. I want you to know that predicting the date of a software launch is extremely difficult, as there are so many variables. As more development is completed, the estimated launch date becomes more accurate. So with that being said, let's listen to what Hugo has to say on the matter.
So that's really what we're building it for. And so Flare is really being built to allow these networks to access smart contracts. And the really cool thing, which I'll hopefully touch on at the end, is that the way Flare is structured is a federated Byzantine agreement network. It's the first kind of FBA that has capable of being Turing complete, so it integrates the Ethereum virtual machine. And it allows each underlying network, so let's say HandShake, let's say Bitcoin, let's say Stellar, to participate in the consensus. And that's a complex idea, but I'll try and break out security testing. We're going to go open source in April, and then we're launching in June, July.
So the Flare network is expected to launch in June/July. Some of you may have even caught Hugo mentioning HandShake. Well, what the hell is HandShake? HandShake is a decentralized, permissionless naming protocol where every peer is validating and in charge of managing the root DNS naming zone, with the goal of creating an alternative to existing certificate authorities and naming systems. The Flare network development team have recently started working with the HandShake development team, which are looking into tokenizing TLDs, SLDs of the TLDs, and then tokenizing the SLDs onto the Flare network. I know what you're thinking, what the hell does that mean, and what are all these crazy acronyms? Let me break it down for you. When you type in a website, you will start with www. The next thing you type will be the second level domain, or SLD for short. The final part of the website will be the top level domain, or the TLD.
And so here's what's really relevant to HandShake. Because HandShake today isn't suitable to be part of the economic bridge because it requires a high volume, token like HNS. But Flare has this really robust and free to use kind of Oracle system whereby each node on Flare is coming to consensus and contributing to consensus over the state of another network, actually at the consensus level of Flare. So it's free to use. And essentially, Flare can basically observe HandShake or any other blockchain and see what the state is, as it goes through time. And so that's a very useful tool because it then allows, smart contracts to be built and other things to happen that allow for greater utility. And we are, with regards to get their tokens represented on Flare as in a trustless manner. But we can use that for anything that has state. So we can use that for top level domains, and that's kind of where we're going with this. So we have kind of we've just started working really with a few people in the HandShake ecosystem, so Chango and Tishan. And I think that's kind of expanding out into, I guess, a working group that's looking at how to get, tokenized TLDs, SLDs of those TLDs, and then tokenizing those SLDs on Flare.
That's right, domain names could be coming to the Flare network. This is really big, and if you want to watch the full interview for further details, I have included a link in the description below. In the next clip, Hugo is reeling off the assets already integrated with the Flare network.
But really, it opens up the SLD and, in fact, the TLD market, the tokenized TLD market, to all of Flare's integrated tokens. So, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Stellar, XRP, obviously at some point, probably Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, I assume those will be integrated.
You may have heard Hugo say, and I quote, "Obviously, at some point, probably, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. I assume those will be integrated." This confirms that these particular assets are not currently being integrated by the Flare network team. So what else is going on with Flare and HandShake?
What are we doing specifically in the HandShake ecosystem? Well, right now, as I said, we're working on bringing SLDs and TLDs as tokenized assets to Flare. And secondly, we're working with some of our custodians to get the HNS asset onto Flare. We can't do it trustlessly yet because it's not liquid enough, but we're working to get a wrapped custodial version onto Flare so that it can be traded on automated market makers with the aim of increasing the liquidity of the token, which should bring tangible benefits to the community.
Did you hear Hugo mention HandShake could then be traded on automated market makers? What does that mean? Well, automated market makers form a key part of decentralized exchanges. For example, Flare X, developed by Flare Finance. This leads me to believe that HandShake could eventually be included in the products offered by Flare Finance. As part of my DeFi series, I will be talking about decentralized exchanges and automated market makers such as Flare X. If you would like to view the precursor to the series and learn exactly what DeFi actually is, please check out the video linked above. I would like to leave you with a couple of sentences from Hugo which really brought to light just how powerful the domains on Flare network could really be. Let's have a listen.
Imagine you have a really hot TLD, something awesome that is acquiring loads and loads of SLDs, right? Because it's got a great traction. Let's say it's .nft, right? And let's say you want to monetize your .nft domain. Now, if you sell it, you may have, you may not want to sell it. You may think there's more upside, but you may wish to acquire a little bit of liquidity from it. So, one of the first things you could do with a tokenized TLD that sits on a smart contract layer is, just borrow against it, lock it, see what people will lend against it for what kind of period of time. They can take the token if you don't pay it back, and ultimately, that would be the way we would administer that, and then they would inherit the SLDs ultimately. So, that would be an example.